Well, howdy there, folks. James, Political Friar, coming at you again. I got the politics hat on again, so we're going to have a politics discussion. And we're going to go back to coverage of Speaker Johnson. I, I was going to stay away from him for a long time, actually, after I feel like the entire Speaker's debacle just got over covered. But one story got brought up to my attention by a viewer this morning, and I just had to look into it. It appears, at least based off of his congressional disclosures, that Speaker Johnson doesn't have a bank account. He just doesn't have a checking account or a savings account, and neither does anybody in his family. Boy, that's weird. Could that possibly be? He made a similar disclosure in 2016 when he first ran for Congress and won, saying he doesn't have any bank accounts. Actually, in 2022, he'd said he didn't have any assets whatsoever. Now, we know that's not true. He owns a house. We have property records. He obviously has cars and all sorts of stuff that might otherwise be disclosable under congressional rules, but he just didn't disclose anything. Okay. So the congressional disclosure rules require that any bank account with over $1,000 in it gets disclosed, and any family bank accounts with over $5,000 of combined asset get disclosed. So, is it possible that he's just below those thresholds? Is it possible that Speaker Johnson just has bank accounts, but they all are less than $1,000? I mean, he's got 5 kids, so maybe he's got a gambling problem. I don't know. It seems unlikely because his wife and he have disclosed joint incomes of greater than $200,000 per year for every one of them that they've disclosed, and that seems like enough money, even with that many kids, to scrape together $1,000 and not live paycheck to paycheck. It's a bit of a mystery, though, and when he was asked about it directly on Fox News a few days ago, Speaker Johnson didn't answer the question. He talked about how he lives a frugal lifestyle and how he has got no expensive tastes, and he talked about how he's got kids that he has to pay for. And when pressed for a yes or no, do you have a bank account, he just didn't answer. Well, I think I figured it out, though, guys. He does have a bank account. It does have more money in it than $1,000. He, by the rules, should have disclosed it. But I can tell you why he didn't. Because he's a good lawyer. And he knows that there are no consequences for not disclosing the amount of money in the bank account. They're not going to kick him out of Congress for it, which is the only thing that they could do is refuse to seat him because he broke the House rules. No, I mean, there could be ethics committee investigations, whatever, but there's no actual teeth to violating this disclosure requirement. Now that he's speaker, he might want to rethink it. See, the reason for these disclosure requirements is to provide like canaries in a coal mine for Congress members who maybe are vulnerable to influence peddling. And you better believe that as soon as Speaker Johnson was made speaker, he started getting phone calls from people who would offer him probably anything he wants for putting their policies in place. And yeah, that's bribery. Yeah, but this is politics. There's books to be bought. After all, that was the classic way of bribing a politician in the 80s, was to buy their books in mass quantities so that they would get the royalties and then let it be known that you bought their book. There are ways for influence peddlers to provide whatever the person being influenced needs without too much risk. But beyond the domestic influence peddler issues, there's foreign ones too. If you have a congressman who's in a big financial trouble, they become a security risk. It's something the FBI frankly keeps their eye on. And if Speaker Johnson really is living this close to the bone, we should be a little bit anxious about that because he is Speaker of the House. Now, the consequences for not disclosing when you're speaker are different from when you're a backbench House member. And that's why I think that Johnson will correct this fairly quickly. Because, see, when you are from deep red Louisiana, even if your primary opponent brings up the fact that you didn't disclose the your bank accounts, I just don't think there's many political consequences for a guy like Speaker Johnson, and there's no legal consequences. And so, why would he bother disclosing anything? He can maintain his privacy when he's a backbencher. Now that he's a speaker, places like the Washington Post write columns about the fact that he hasn't disclosed his bank accounts, and it ends up on media, and it just looks weird. It's a bad look politically, and when you're speaker, that matters a lot more. So Democrats may nationalize this type of thing, and whereas it doesn't matter in Louisiana's second district, it might matter to people in Northern Virginia when they're making a decision between a Republican and a Democrat and deciding whether they want a speaker who who just ignores the House rules, or they don't. Anyway, it's just a thought. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Tell me how wrong I am, please. Hit that like button, subscribe, and most importantly, tell a friend. Thanks.